As much as I hope that this clip is going to be the last of Alicia, I don't know for sure until we'll get to the end of the clip. All I know for sure at this point is that I could throw two bits of raw footage into the same clip without going over half an hour long, and I didn't have to do any cuts. Knowing that I saved twice in this clip doesn't really tell me if we do anything impactful. Hell, some of the things the game designers probably expected would feel like big moments just didn't land for me at all in this game. Ah, so the third part is not too far from here. At least the Aurora didn't say anything over the radio to possibly annoy the crap out of me as we move on. It's funny how I have less of an issue with the hidden system telling us where to go, so long as we don't get any dialogue to go with the map gaining a little notification of where something important is. Is that just the fact that I like the feeling of being isolated in the Metroid franchise as a whole, and the interrupts for that are more infuriating than they would be in the other games? Or is there some aspect of the Aurora units themselves and their delivery that just tick me off? It really feels like I used the maps a lot more in the other Metroid games than this one. I may have been using it on Elysia more than the other planets so far in this game, but that has more to do with the environments around here looking pretty similar to one another, and I need to orient myself. There might be some distinct rooms here and there, but the buildings are pretty much the same when you look at them from the outside. And again, I'm kind of reminded why I never bothered going through the absolute original Metroid or the absolute original Metroid 2. As fun as those games were, as much as they set up the stage for the rest of the franchise, the fact of the matter is I can't help just force myself through them from beginning to end when I just don't have an in-game map to pull up and have to draw my own. We would not have gotten so many fun experiences without them, though. I entirely appreciate what they brought to the table, but they just didn't have enough of the formula the later games would have to keep me in. It's kind of funny how I feel that one bit of the user interface is an absolute necessity, and I can't do without the thing in this franchise. Oops, wrong floating building. Even when I look at the map on this planet, it's easy for me to make wrong turns because everything looks so damn similar. Have I mentioned that I want to move on from this planet for good? Just jet off and never look back unless absolutely forced to. And I really, really hope that there's nothing that pulls us back. But I suppose the spider ball tracks we've seen are a decent sign that we might have to come back for something important, like we had to go back to Brio for the screw attack. Okay, so we're on the right island now. No need to jump off, just need to look more carefully to see what we need to grab with our ship. Right, that should give us what we need. So, 2 out of 3 sections of the bomb are nuclear in nature. Why are we calling this a Theronian bomb instead of a nuclear one if 2 parts are nuclear? It just feels a bit odd, possibly because I've seen a good number of nukes over the years in various games, tactical and otherwise. I'm also kind of doubtful we'll get to see much in the way of the explosion from this thing when we finally set it off. Not with the way there's so many damn clouds below us.
Excellent work, Samus. The Theronian bomb is complete. We
Wish
are
I
now
could
ready
feel
to
more
execute
interested
the
in
final
that.
stage of our plan. Place the bomb in the cargo hold of the Spire pod. We will mark the Spire location on your map. Please hurry. There is no time to lose.
We've got a lot of time around here. Unless there's an explicit timer, we can take absolutely as much time as we need to go anywhere. Anyway, looks like I'll be saving the game before we drop the bomb. Mostly because the save point is between here and where we have to go next. It's not really a big planning things out because I'm worried about what might happen next sort of thing. It's just a convenient stop because why the hell not? And great. Now part of me is feeling a bit annoyed at myself that I can pull off taking a break after less than 10 minutes of recording gameplay. But when it comes to working on the commentary, I like the clips to be meatier than that, giving myself more work. Okay, take a left for the save point, then the only other road is to the objective point. Definitely convenient of them, and definitely gives me the sense they're expecting things to be exciting as we drop the bomb. Definitely a shame that I'm a hard man to impress when it comes to action sequences. So harsh, in fact, that I come across as an ass even to myself sometimes. Still, I'm honest, and I'm calling it as I see it. I believe that's one of my charms. I know I've said it in all the Metroid Prime games, but I really don't like the idea of a three-dimensional, almost holographic map. But I suppose with the sheer amount of jumping around we have to do, it's kinda justified. You can't really get away with a Resident Evil-style two-dimensional map when the main character has the ability to jump a second time while in midair. Hell, the closest thing to jumping I remember from the Resident Evil games was climbing onto boxes and occasionally leaping out of a window. Well, that was close. We almost had to start that bit of grinding again from the start, which wasn't that long ago. Yeah, if the game can't make potentially dropping into abyss scary enough to make it feel actually interesting, they're going to have a rough time making the next action sequence feel especially engrossing. Okay, how did I not remember that the damn save room was on the upper level? Sure, the rooms look pretty similar to one another with Alicia's tile set and all that, but come on. The mini-map showed a small circular room. When has that ever been anything other than a save room in this series? Right, now that we're all saved up, time to see what we're going to have to do to get that bomb where it needs to go. And if we'll even get to see the explosion it causes when it hits. My expectations are low at the moment, but hey, maybe the game will impress me. Can you even blame me for low expectations considering how I felt during the battle for Norian, or when we had the boss fight with Gore on this planet? Both just made me groan and think of better instances in other games or even in this same game. Not the sort of thing I generally do in a Metroid game. Hell, with Metroid Prime 2, I was mostly complaining about the pacing and how little I cared about the Ing-Luminoth War, which was the main thrust of the story. Not many of the mechanical decisions, and the only boss complaints I had was how absolutely bullshit some of them were. Well, we're on the right platform, so how do we get things started here? Excuse me for not thinking to bring the ship earlier, since the top of this thing looks pretty closed off. So it opens up without any input from us. Excuse me for feeling that should have been the case a few of the earlier times. So, this building was always designed with the idea that a bomb would be placed into it on that exact angle. Wait, why do we need to go back to the Aurora's chamber when he can talk to us just fine over the radio? I swear! While the padding in this game isn't as outright obscene as the sheer number of keys we had to go through in the previous two Metroid Primes, it is still obnoxious in its own right. I know it's small distance, but come on. Let us move on without having to do a short detour for the sake of making things last just around a minute longer. Seriously, how does this very short commute in the same direction we just came from improve things?
The thorium bomb is primed and ready.
We noticed. We didn't come here for head pats. Hell, you don't even have hands to pat our head with.
The bomb pod directly over the Leviathan and shut down the pod's engine. This must be done manually.
Well, if it has to be done manually, then why did you get us off the damn platform to talk to you face to face? And of course we need to accept it if we want to make any kind of progress in this game. Why? Would they even give us the option to say no anyway? We have never had any other yes or no questions asked of us in this franchise, much less this game. For some reason, that one question made me think of all the times in Ace Combat 5 where we had to answer yes or no questions, most of which had absolutely no effect on what was actually going on in the story, and two of them making the decision of a coin toss that would change which missions we would go to for a bit. Anyway, based on those jets, apparently we don't have to travel at all to get where we need to go with that thing, as if this planet didn't feel like a rush job before. Again, I'm pretty convinced they just sped through the creation of things on this planet, even in comparison to the other planets we've gone through so far in this game. And those areas didn't feel like they had the same time and attention that various areas had in the other two Metroid Primes. Buddy, we've been in obscene amounts of danger in every Metroid game. One of my issues with this game has been that the story wants this to somehow be the most dangerous, expensive job Samus has ever undertaken, and it just doesn't come across that way. The previous two Metroid Primes came across as more epic in scale to me, despite the fact that we only stayed on one planet for each of them. Whereas this is the third planet we've gone to in this game, and it's the approximate size of a single region in one of the others. Is my definition of epic just different from what Nintendo thinks? Again, this is not such an absolute clusterfuck on the level of Star Fox Assault that would make you lose confidence in a franchise. It just feels like one of those awkward moments where the game designers and myself have different ideas of what make up the critical parts of the franchise, and they decided to do some experimenting. It's hard to feel too annoyed by that, considering I know that the DS game and Metroid Dread did a great job reviving my confidence that Nintendo knows what they're doing with this series, and brought things to something extremely enjoyable. And again, it's not like I can get Metroid Other M or Federation Force to work on my emulators just right, so it's not like we're probably ever gonna see the absolute depths of how bad this franchise can get. This game just had a bad first impression and hasn't done anything to really regain me just yet. It's certainly got time to rectify that, even if we've gone through a good chunk of things here.
Samus, we are sensing a large number of enemy units in your vicinity. The pirates must have detected your movement toward the seed.
Well, it's not like we've ever been subtle.
All hope for Elysia is lost.
Excuse me for not giving a damn, since it's not like there's been anything to show what we might be defending on Elysia. Much like Brio, it feels like there's nothing really to defend, and we're just doing things here for the sake of messing with the plans of the pirates. Hell, we are fighting an entire war for the Federation out here, and it's a good thing that Samus doesn't actually give a damn about how much he's getting paid for any of her jobs, because I don't care what they're throwing at her. It is not enough for this level of shit. Right. So the big threat is them destroying the thing we're standing on. Not them killing us, since we've got more health than the building. That certainly doesn't make much sense, but hey, at least it provides some more tension. Well, this dropship is certainly more durable than quite a few we've shot down so far. I was actually about to ask why it didn't get its own health bar, but then it just blew up there while I was writing the script for that bit. Okay, so only the dropships can cause damage to the structure. I suppose that's one explanation for why our stray shots have no risk of screwing ourselves over. Wait, why isn't that dropship causing any damage as it shoots at the building we're in? I'm sorry, I'm a bit unclear about the rules that dictate how we could lose this defense situation. Hell, it doesn't even feel like the enemy is all that concerned with destroying the spire we're in right now. All these guys are just trying to kill Samus herself, when we have more energy tanks than they have fingers and toes combined. Really wish that different enemy types in this game had more to differentiate them. Seriously, how many different kinds of pirates are there around here? How many have we scanned over the course of the game? It's really tough to tell the difference between one ground-based pirate and another, especially when the guns are shooting. Yeah, again, I see what they were going for, but it's just not doing it for me. And that's another dropship destroyed, and another dropship showing up, and no hint of how much longer we're gonna have to do this. While I will grant this is certainly a unique bit, unfortunately, it's just reminded me of the whole sequence with the Arbiter in Halo 2, where we cut a station down and freefall along with it for a good long while. I should not be thinking of a gameplay section of Halo 2 so fondly, especially with how unbalanced, heroic, and especially legendary were on that game. Come on, give me something to be intimidated by. This is the best action sequence in the game so far. It needs more spice to feel like a genuinely great, memorable moment that sticks with me for a good long time, instead of just a novelty for this particular journey. There's a lot of potential. The broad strokes for this work. But it's just frustratingly not good enough to make up for the sheer apathy-inducing crap we had to go through just to get this far into the game. Okay, destroying that dropship seems to have ended the fight. I would have liked to have seen some sign of it being the finish before we finished it. And apparently the remaining pirates felt it was more worth it to commit suicide than try shooting at Samus. Why? Just why is that their response here and now, when they will always attack us directly regardless of their chances of survival everywhere else they ever see Samus.
Engine override initiated. Deploying emergency escape pod.
Well, it's a good thing that there's only one person who needs to use the escape pod. Dear God, that looks poorly designed.
Engine shutdown.
4 minutes? Guess that means something's gonna go wrong.
Escape pod malfunction. Opening
Well,
rear
that
access
was
door.
predictable. And look at that, the only way to fix it involves using the morph ball. So Samus is literally the only person who could have fixed this problem. There are ways to make paths, and the ways to fix them feel like they weren't absolutely designed with the player character's specific talents in mind, when that is literally what the game designers are doing. There are ways to make the world feel more organic, and as I said before, the 2D games can have an easier time getting away with that, but the 3D games, especially with the scanner to help the player figure things out and flesh things out, need things to be thought through a bit better, which is, again, a bit awkward because the 2D games do a much better environmental storytelling job than the 3D ones. Right, so could rip that off its hinges, despite it having the yellow tint saying that's what we should do because we didn't scan it yet. That feels like a stupid reason to slow us down in a time section. And again, this game has some rather dumb reasons to slow us down for the sake of slowing us down by trivial amounts. Okay, one more thing to repair before we can leave. At least we didn't have to scan the thing we had to rip off this time. Son of a bitch. Please don't tell me this is gonna screw me over because my emulator is having trouble letting me move the damn mouse to just the right spot to actually finish this bit of building. That would be such a bullshit reason to have to go back to around 13 minutes before now and start it all over again. Right. Those things decided to suddenly become hostile for the sake of creeping us out at the end of this. It's a good thing they aren't really capable of doing much damage, otherwise I might actually feel worried there. And look at that, plenty of time to spare. I somehow doubt the following cutscene is going to remember something like that. It's probably going to act like we left at the absolute last possible second or something. Okay, credit where it's due. I was not expecting to see the explosion at all. I just thought it would happen underneath the clouds and the Aurora would blandly say, "The siege is gone. Thank you." Granted, it wasn't an especially amazing explosion to watch, just a very flat, bright flash of light, but I'll take what I can get, and that was more than I was expecting. Oh, and before I forget, why the hell did we get a jingle for that? We didn't even get a nice angle of Samus walking out of the poorly designed escape pod as the classic Metroid jingle sounded out. It just happened as if that's supposed to be enough. So, I guess later on we're gonna have to go to the seed itself. I'm not all too sure why I thought we were gonna skip going to a seed when Brio already set that pattern for us. Ah well. At least that means we're gonna be done with Alicia in the next clip and we can move on. now to call the ship in and save to finish things off for now. We'll fly to our next boss fight next time. I wish I could say I was looking forward to it, but it's not like the game did anything to hype it up. Much like the big Gollum on Brio, it's just a world boss for the sake of there being a world boss. Well, maybe it's gonna be memorable somehow. It's amazing how many clips I've gone through in this game while feeling like very little has actually happened.